Andrew, I know you're a man who thinks that it shouldn't all be about subscriber growth, but were you taken aback by the future forecast?
I was a little bit. In terms of, I think everybody has known that the international is where the growth opportunity has been probably for the better part of the last 2 years. 2020, because of the COVID bounce, so to speak, I think the domestic number was a bit inflated. I think the bigger concern, though, which I've been sounding the alarm on for some time, is that Netflix really needs to diversify their revenue stream. They were the first mover, all the way back when it came to DVDs and then streaming and then international. But they've really been lagging behind the other competitors in terms of ways to diversify that revenue stream. And with the slowing subscriber numbers, I think are why the street is probably more concerned about that now.
I know, to actually see 400,000 subscribers lost in the second quarter in North America, that's something to really make you sit up and listen. And therefore, they have been starting to hint at ways of diversifying. Of course, they're offering gaming, a story that our own Mark Gurman and Lucas Shaw broke for Bloomberg. What do you think of that move into gaming? Because, as you say, they're a little bit behind.
Well, the move to gaming is one that I've been talking about for quite some time. I think the general strategy that I think myself and others have shared is that gaming was a natural evolution for Netflix because of the shift to cloud gaming and streaming and their large subscriber base. Also, another way to diversify would be adding a cheaper ad-supported tier. The one concern that I would have if I were them relative to gaming, normally they're the first mover in everything that they've been successful at from the founding of the company. And they've also been able to outspend historically others. But when it comes to these cloud-based streaming gaming, they're amongst the last to do so. And they're really not going to be able to outspend Microsoft and Amazon and others in the space. And so will they have to acquire a gaming studio or do other things to make that more of a viable expansion opportunity for them?
Why don't you think they can outspend? They're looking to up their spending on content to 12 billion. What stops them being able to catch up organically if they just throw money at the situation?
So what we've seen over the same period, say in 2021, where their subscriber growth has dramatically slowed on the streaming video side, you've seen other diversified media companies, the Comcast, the Viacom, CBS, and others that have their ad-supported AVOD solutions as well as SVOD solutions have massive growth, not only in subscribers, but in ad dollars and ad revenue, time spent. And then they have many other revenue streams as well. And so the concern is if everybody else is starting to see more and more time and more audience on their streaming solutions, that's even more motivation for their competitors to spend more. And then their competitors have other revenue streams. And so, Netflix spends 12 billion. What's to stop Amazon from spending 13 or 14 or others? And so I just don't think that it was okay to get into that arms race when other people weren't really playing 5 years ago and they were kind of spending against themselves. But now there's a ton of competition from companies that are really ready to take that next step.
Okay, so let's talk about diversification, not just only in offering it to gaming, but you talk about this ad model, which, I immediately start to think of Spotify, for example, where you can have these two layers, a cheaper version, ad-supported, or a premium version. And Spotify, of course, have been diversifying, getting more into podcasts and the like. What do you make of other areas in which Netflix can diversify its revenue?
Look, I think the trifecta would be for Netflix to really be a behemoth when it comes to what I call the watch, listen, play strategy. So they already are the leader in terms of watch, right? In terms of the ability to have streaming. Listening would be music, maybe buying a Spotify or getting into streaming. They have a massive consumer base all over the world and could do so. And the play is, there's more gamers and more time spent and attention and more revenue in gaming than TV and music combined. And so that's something that they've already shown they're getting into. But with the ability to distribute content over the internet all over the world, I feel like they're missing out on lots of revenue opportunity and kind of just tripling down on their core competency, which didn't work well for Blockbuster, and that's so we'll see how that works for Netflix.
I'm sure they know well the Blockbuster story, and having seen it unfold in front of their eyes and been the reason for their demise. What's your take on the global story here? Because when you're looking at the numbers, Europe, there's a bit of a slowdown, Latin America as well. I thought these were the areas that they should be really showing serious strength in.
Yeah, so what you're also seeing is in these markets, there's local players that have access to, that have the rights to a lot of the local in language content in certain markets. And so that has put over the last few years a lot of pressure on Netflix to produce original content in those markets, which they've actually done quite well at and had some huge success, and also been able to bring back some of that content domestically with subtitles and so forth. I think in some of these markets you're seeing, which I think is concerning, you're seeing less opening up post COVID than you have in the US. And so if there, even though there's still a lot of lockdowns and less of the open economy in some of these markets, for them seeing subscriber growth would also be a slight concern as well.